All right, so today we are going to take a deep dive into a fascinating report that we found from Insikt Group, and they uncovered what they're calling Operation Undercut, which is this Russian influence operation.
Yeah, I found this really interesting.
And it uses some pretty, cutting-edge tactics.
Oh yeah, this is 2024, right? So we're talking AI now, right?
AI impersonated news outlets,
Wow.
and a real push, strategic push to influence all sorts of things from from U.S. elections
Of course.
to the Paris Olympics.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
So by the end of this deep dive, you are gonna know how to spot these tactics and why it really matters. So this is the group behind this operation. It's called the Russian Social Design Agency, the SDA.
Okay.
And they're already kind of on our radar for another campaign they did called Doppelgänger. So they're back at it again, and they're taking things up a notch here with AI and these more sophisticated ways of hijacking.
Hijacking legitimate news. That's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to just have fake news, but if it looks like it's coming from a legitimate source,
Yeah.
that's scary.
Right, and we're going to get into the specific, media outlets that they're hijacking. But the report, it lays out some pretty, unsettling narratives that they're pushing. And it seems like, it all kind of aligns with Russia's broader interests. It's all kind of like,
Yeah. Like if you connect the dots, it fits their worldview.
it fits their worldview exactly.
Yeah.
So one of their main focuses is to undermine Western support for Ukraine.
Okay.
And and they're not just posting opinions or whatever. They're they're creating deepfake videos that are supposed to show Ukrainian officials misusing aid money.
Wow. Okay.
And things like that. And
So trying to erode trust.
yeah, trying to erode public trust completely. So it's a chilling thought, right?
It is.
It really makes you realize how vulnerable we are
Mm-hmm.
to this kind of manipulation.
Yeah, it makes you think twice about everything you see online now.
Absolutely. And it's, and they're not just targeting Ukraine.
Right, right. Who else are they going after?
Yeah. They're also trying to kind of, manipulate the narrative surrounding the Israel-Gaza conflict.
Oh, okay. That's a hot topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're seeing, attempts to blame Western allies
Okay.
and fuel anxieties about the conflict's potential to escalate.
So basically turning up the heat, adding fuel to the fire.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about capitalizing on existing tensions and creating that, sense of chaos.
Right. Making it seem like everything's falling apart.
Right. Exactly. And the report also mentions that they're actively working to escalate tensions.
Oh, geez. More
in the European Union.
within the EU
Oh, wow.
itself. So they're exploiting, disagreements that already exist.
Between EU members.
Like what kind of disagreements? Give me an example.
Well, differences of opinion
Right.
on aid to Ukraine
Okay.
or sanctions against Russia.
Makes sense.
But they're also they're supporting far-right parties and
Oh, interesting. Oh,
and pushing this narrative of a fractured Europe.
right. Divided, can't make a decision.
Yeah. Unable to act decisively. So, and then, this detail really struck me. They're even attempting to link global conflicts to the outcome of the 2024 U.S. elections.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they're spreading the idea that the fate of Ukraine and even Israel hinges on who wins the U.S. election.
So it's all tied together in their narrative.
Right. Yeah, exactly. While simultaneously, stoking fears about potential political violence in the U.S. It's,
So it's classic, divide and conquer kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So division, uncertainty.
Chaos. Yeah.
All that. It's really alarming how they're kind of weaving all these narratives together. The report even mentions that they're targeting the 2024 Paris Olympics.
The Olympics. Wow. Okay. What are they trying to do there?
Yeah, well, it seems like they're aiming to, undermine the event.
Okay.
And by extension, France's global standing. So we're seeing, narratives questioning security measures, criticizing the opening ceremony, and just generally, painting the Olympics in a negative light.
Okay, so they're really trying to hit everything.
They're hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah.
So now that we have, a better understanding of their goals.
Set of goals, yeah.
Let's take a closer look at the actual tactics they're using.
Right, tactics. Let's get tactical.
Yeah. So would you walk us through some of the key takeaways from the report?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So One of the tactics that really jumped out at me was their use of AI-enhanced videos. And what's particularly interesting is how they're using AI voiceovers in multiple languages
Oh, wow.
to create this sense of authenticity.
Right, because it sounds like a, like a native speaker.
Exactly. Exactly. It's very convincing.
So can you give us an example of how they might use this technology?
Sure, sure. So imagine like a screen recording of a legitimate YouTube video.
Okay.
Maybe like a news report, an interview,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. But they've added these like cleverly added overlays
Okay.
and then a voiceover
Okay.
in, say, French or German
Oh, wow.
that's subtly twisting the message
Right.
to align with their narratives.
And it's hard to distinguish because it looks real and it sounds real.
Exactly. It makes it incredibly difficult. It's almost like something out of a spy thriller, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how advanced these tactics have become. So what other techniques are they using?
So another big one is impersonating legitimate media outlets.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're stealing logos, twisting real articles, basically doing whatever it takes to make their propaganda look credible.
And you're talking, familiar names.
Oh yeah, familiar names, the New York Times, Politico, Le Monde. I mean, we're talking the big players.
Yeah.
So if you're scrolling through your feed and you're not paying close attention, you could easily mistake that for genuine news.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not just about like, creating convincing content. It's about strategically placing it where people are already looking
Exactly.
for information.
Right.
So what else are they doing to reach wider audiences?
So hashtag hijacking is another one.
Oh, okay.
So they latch onto trending hashtags to insert their content into conversations that are already happening.
Oh, that's smart.
Right. And what's even more sophisticated is how they tailor this content by language and location to make it hyper-relevant to specific audiences.
Wow. It's like highly targeted information warfare.
It is. It is.
It's like, yeah, it's like a digital marketing campaign, but with way more sinister intentions. So are they sticking to like, just like the usual social media platforms, or are they branching out?
So they're definitely branching out.
Okay.
We're seeing them on less mainstream platforms, like, for example, the image sharing site 9gag,
Oh, wow.
which suggests that they're trying to connect with, say, a younger, more meme-savvy audience.
Right.
Right, like a demographic that they might not typically target. It's like this constant game of cat and mouse. They're always trying to stay one step ahead.
Right. And the report also mentions an intriguing detail.
Yeah.
About, their possible collaboration with another suspected Russian network called Copycop.
A copycat. Okay.
And yeah, so we're seeing instances where, Operation Undercut seems to be amplifying content
Oh, interesting.
from Copycop. So it raises the question, like, are they working together?
Are they coordinating?
Yeah, directly.
Yeah.
Or just, simply capitalizing on each other's content.
Right. It's hard to say.
Yeah. So we've uncovered a lot about Operation Undercut so far, but you might be wondering, why should I care?
Right. Exactly. Why does this matter to me?
Yeah. Why does this matter to me? This seems like a small operation. To help us answer that, I'm going to turn things over to our expert.
Sure. So it's easy to dismiss something like this as just like noise on the internet.
Right.
But remember, the SDA, we believe, is directly connected to the Russian government. So their activities, including Operation Undercut, these aren't random acts.
Right.
These are carefully orchestrated to advance Russia's interest on the world stage.
Right.
So what might seem like a minor operation is actually a piece of a much larger puzzle.
So even though it might not be making huge waves right now, it's still significant.
Absolutely. Think of it this way, right?
Yeah.
Each of these operations, it's like a drop in the bucket, slowly but surely influencing public perception, shaping narratives. Over time, these drops can have a significant cumulative effect,
Right.
eroding trust, fueling division, and ultimately impacting global stability. And that's why understanding these operations is so crucial.
Yeah.
It's not just about being informed, it's about being empowered to critically evaluate the information you encounter online.
Right.
It's about thinking for yourself,
Yeah.
not just letting the algorithms think for you. It's not about like becoming overly suspicious, of everything you see.
Right.
But it's more about like developing your own like internal BS detector.
Oh, I like that.
The
Yeah.
BS detects.
Like a set of critical thinking skills
Yeah.
that help you kind of sift through all the noise
Right.
and find the signal.
Yeah. So instead of just like, blindly accepting what we see, like how can we actively, sharpen those critical thinking skills? Well, I think one of the first things you can do is just be mindful of your sources. So stick to, reputable news outlets, fact-checking organizations.
Right.
And, don't just share something because it aligns with your existing beliefs.
Yeah.
Take a moment to verify.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, remembering those impersonation tactics, it's like, it's so crucial to, double check those URLs.
Yes.
Scrutinize logos, look for anything that seems a bit off.
Exactly. And if a headline seems too sensational to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, right. Like, come on. So another essential strategy, I think, is to kind of, diversify your information intake.
Right.
Don't fall into the trap of an echo chamber where you're only exposed to information that reinforces your existing views.
Yes.
Right?
Don't just stay in your little bubble.
Right. So actively seek out different perspectives.
Yeah.
Even those that challenge your assumptions.
Exactly. Because that's how you grow, right?
Right.
You got to get uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so easy to get, caught up in those filter bubbles.
It is, yeah.
But, I think exposing ourselves to those different viewpoints can help us just develop a more nuanced understanding
Absolutely.
of really complex issues.
Yeah, the world is not black and white. There's a lot of gray.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of gray. So, but what about those times when you see something and it just seems fishy,
Right.
but you're not quite sure like how to verify it?
Well, don't just share it blindly. Take a moment to fact check, right? Yeah. Look for corroborating evidence from trusted sources.
Right.
Maybe discuss it with someone you trust who might have a different perspective.
Yeah.
And then there are also some great, online resources available, right? Fact-checking websites, media literacy initiatives, that kind of thing.
Right.
So, do your research.
So it sounds like it's kind of this combination of, healthy skepticism and just taking, personal responsibility.
Absolutely.
For the information that we consume. And I think social media platforms themselves also have a role to play, right?
Right.
I mean, they need to be investing in better detection and removal of these inauthentic accounts.
Absolutely.
And content.
Yeah. They have a responsibility to, clean up their platforms.
Yeah.
Make them safer for everyone.
Yeah, and we as users can, we can hold them accountable.
Exactly.
By reporting suspicious activity and, demanding greater transparency.
Transparency.
Yeah.
Yes. We need to know what they're doing.
Yeah, about their efforts to combat disinformation.
Exactly. It's like a shared responsibility.
Yeah,
right?
it's a shared responsibility.
That platforms need to step up. We also need to be proactive.
Yeah.
In protecting ourselves
Right.
and helping others.
Right.
Navigate this complex information landscape. So it's a collective effort.
It is.
It
is.
It requires vigilance, critical thinking, and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Yeah. So this deep dive into Operation Undercut has really, I think, highlighted the importance of understanding these influence operations.
Yeah.
But I think what's even more crucial is like how do we apply this knowledge?
Right. It's not just about knowing, it's about doing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do we actually use this
to make more informed decisions both online and offline?
Right. And that's a great question. It's a question we should all be asking ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Like, think about how these tactics, how they might show up in different areas of your life.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe you're evaluating political candidates.
Right.
Maybe you're making healthcare decisions.
Yeah.
Or even just trying to stay informed about current events. Recognizing those techniques of manipulation, like the ones we talked about in Operation Undercut, can really empower you.
Right.
To be a more critical and discerning consumer of information.
Yeah, it's like, it's almost like learning to see the world through this new lens, right? That helps you, identify and filter out all the noise.
Yeah.
And focus on what really matters.
Exactly.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have, yeah.
From the unsettling goals of Operation Undercut to these ingenious tactics that they employ.
Right.
And even, explored ways to counter these efforts.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought-provoking question.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Hit me.
Yeah, hit me with it.
All right, so how can recognizing these tactics empower you to navigate this increasingly complex world of information and make more informed decisions both on and offline? It's a question worth pondering, right?
Hmm.
As we all strive to be, more discerning consumers of information in this digital age.
It really is. And, it's easy to feel overwhelmed,
Yeah.
right? By the sheer volume of information that we encounter every single day. But I think understanding these tactics can really help us regain a sense of control.
For sure.
It's like we've been handed this decoder ring
Hmm.
that allows us to see the hidden messages behind the headlines and the social media posts and all that.
Absolutely. It's about empowering ourselves to be active participants
Right.
in the information landscape, not
Yeah.
just passive consumers, right?
Yeah.
We have to be active.
Yeah. Yeah. We've talked a lot about the negative side of things today.
Right.
But I'm curious, do you see any potential like positive outcomes
Yeah.
from this increased awareness, of influence operations?
I do, actually. Yeah, I think this heightened awareness could lead to a more critical and discerning public. Right. As people become more attuned to these tactics, they're likely to be more skeptical of information in general,
Yeah.
which could lead to a demand for greater transparency and accountability from, those in power.
Okay. That's an encouraging thought. It's almost like a silver lining to this whole situation by shining a light on these shadowy tactics. We
Mhm.
might, inadvertently be pushing for a more honest and transparent
Yeah,
information ecosystem.
I think that's a very real possibility.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
And by understanding how these operations work, we can begin to dismantle their effectiveness.
Well said. And I think that's a perfect note to end on. To our listeners, we encourage you to keep learning about these tactics and stay vigilant
Yeah.
in the online world. Informed is your best defense.
Absolutely.
And with a little awareness and critical thinking, we can all help to build a more trustworthy and resilient information ecosystem.
Couldn't agree more. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.